You're listening to the greatest multifamily investment advice show. My name is Adam Ross, and now I'm talking everything multifamily for an in-depth conversation, and I will be diving deep into raising capital, deals, and underwriting process. Welcome back to the greatest multifamily advice show. Today we have Alfonso Cuadra, an exceptional guest and real estate investor out of Ottawa region of Ontario, focused on coaching, raising capital, land development, and all sorts of fun. How are you, Alfonso?
I'm good, Adam. What's going on?
Hope we're gonna have a good episode today. So thanks so much for being.
I think it's gonna be fun.
I hope so. So thanks so much for being with me today, and I appreciate you taking your time.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks a lot. Alfonso, your background is super impressive, from Salvador to Canada, building hundreds of units across Canada, public speaker, coaching. But I would like to start with beginning, and what was the motivation saying I want to start learning about real estate?
Well, I had a business at 17, and how I came about to starting that business is kind of an interesting story. You know, like I'm an immigrant, like you said, like I was a refugee. I came to Canada as a refugee. I got into trouble early on. I had like some issues adapting into the education system here in Canada. Ultimately, I ended up leaving home at 15, dropping out of high school. I was lost. I was homeless. And I had a life-changing moment at 17 when I became a father. And that pretty much, that is pretty young. Now, we're not trying to promote for young people to have kids, but it was a real monumental moment in my life where I, for the first time in my life, I discovered purpose and what purpose really means. And at that point, I started a business. And I went back to school and I started a business for my locker in high school. It was a clothing store.
Back to which year is this?
This is 1995, 96.
Okay, a long time back.
Maybe you weren't even born yet. I'm not sure.
No, but I was 12.
Okay, so you're.
I'm in late 30s now.
Good. So at that time, the business did very well. Like I happened to enter a market that was like expanding, and at the right time, and with the right purpose, and kind of like all the stars aligned, and I became very successful in that business. So I found myself being 21 years old, and now I have locations all across Canada. Now the issue was, when the business was good, it was really good. Right. And I was making a lot of money. The problem was I had no financial education. I didn't know how to run a business. My mom never shared those, because she never shared those skill sets because she didn't have them. All my mom could tell me, and as you know, being an immigrant in this country, all the focus is like education. Like my mom used to say, if you don't have a diploma or university degree, you're nothing. That's what she used to say to me, right? And so
poor dad, rich dad advice.
Exactly. Like a lot of immigrants come here with that mindset, right? Because it's like and you know what? For a lot of people back home, that is the only way, right? You need an
Correct.
Education, right? But in these countries, in the Western world, it's a little bit different. Now, I was hit with a market correction, 2001, shortly after 9/11.
Yeah,
people's habits changed. New competition came, China, the internet, and I was not equipped to handle a shift in the market. And my business started to nosedive.
okay.
So now I find 21 years old, like on top of the world, all of this money. And now I'm 24 years old. I'm negative $1 million. I'm in debt. I'm about to lose my business. And so I said to myself, there's something wrong here. Like, I'm obviously missing some information. And so what I did was I started reading, and I started to educate myself. And you said Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was
Yeah.
one of the first books that I read.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized, where I was. First of all, I was very much a consumer. I was not an investor. My mind, even though I had a good business, but all the money that came in, I used it to buy stuff because
Yeah.
I've never had money. So in my mind, that's what you're supposed to do, especially at 21. Adam, you remember being 21?
The mindset is different.
Yeah.
As you said, they're not teaching you this on the school. You have to learn. The school system is directing you to fail. It's just to listen, to not make mistakes. So it takes time to understand, as you said, at 21, how you're gonna know to manage your actual fund or expenses. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I realized by reading all these books. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich were some of the first books, but they were like a gateway to like hundreds of other books that I've read. I didn't read through high school, right? I didn't I'm the kind of guy that would read the back of the book and get 50% on the test. You know what I mean? And that was good enough for me. Yeah. But reading those books opened up my mind. And actually, I realized that I love to read, and I started to really absorb all the information and the content and the experience from all these other people that have made it. And when I realized that, one, I was a consumer, two, that I only had one stream of income, and when I saw that all the different, like all the wealthiest people in the world had multiple sources of income, I realized how vulnerable I was, and the reason why I ended up where I ended up. Pretty much I was going to lose my business, and I said, that's my problem. I only had that one business. That was my only source of income, and so when something happened or shifted in the marketplace, I was going to nosedive with that market. And then the last thing is the common thread amongst all of the wealthiest people, which goes back to your question. How did I get into real estate?
Yes.
I started to read that the common thread amongst all the wealthiest people in the world is real estate.
Correct.
Not just because of the business component of it, but it's a good way to preserve your wealth. And so the mixture of business and real estate, it's what gives the 4% of the world an unfair advantage over the 96%. Now, there's nothing we can do about it, but why do they have those advantages? And so I started to read about real estate. I started to educate myself about real estate. And I said, this is going to be my second stream of income. I had my business, and what I wanted to do is create a stream of income that was indestructible, right? And the most bulletproof, like Armageddon proof.
Yeah, I heard you saying this before. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what the conclusion that I came to was multifamily.
Yes, of course.
Because I said people will always have to live somewhere.
Correct.
People will always have to live somewhere. And so what I did was at that very moment, I started to pursue the multifamilies, and I started small at the very beginning. Like I did some triplex conversions, 5 units, 7 units, but slowly I started to transform my life and the way my habits. So I was transforming from a consumer into an investor, reduced my expenses, started to create wealth, acquire assets. So by the time we came to 2008, the tail end of 2008, where you had the US market crash, it didn't crash in Canada, but it did. There was a massive correction here.
100%.
And I was ready, right? I was ready to go, and I was ready to be able to take advantage of all the opportunities. And I've been able to grow that portfolio across Canada, and now going into the US, hundreds of doors, systems, people. And, when I turned 30 years old, I was financially free. I'm 45 right now. I was 30 years old. I was financially free. I'd sold the company. And I remember thinking, what am I going to do with my life? And so I made a decision way back when that I wanted to live a life of fulfillment. And the biggest fulfillment that I get is teaching people how to create freedom in their lives. And I've dedicated my entire life to that mission, right? Helping people achieve financial freedom.
100%. I think my next question will be, as you mentioned, you have across Canada. So the criteria you're looking for, I know that always we're looking for cash flow because this is the way to have bulletproof, or as you said, Armageddon proof is cash flow, which is potentially good cap rate. So what is your target market now in Canada? And you're saying that you're shifting the business to US too. So like Cincinnati, Ohio, you like Texas,
Yeah.
which markets?
So it's not like I'm shifting the business to the US. I'm including the US.
Correct.
For the longest time, you know, and I have invested in the US before, but it's like this imaginary line, right? And so what I wanted to do is just get rid of the line, right? We get rid of the line. So now the investment environment becomes all of US and Canada, okay? And the reason why I like US and Canada, because of the banking system.
Correct.
You can leverage money and it's easy to get mortgages. And so that to me, it's key. I invest where I'm going to get the highest return. So I'm not very specifically motivated on particular areas, but I do like going somewhere and like creating a pocket, right? So if I go to Saskatchewan, I'm going to buy buildings all around to be able to create resources to support that growth. If I go to Alberta, I'm going to do the same. You know, years ago, I was going to New Brunswick and I was, you know, creating that infrastructure, and I would do the same. And so these are the things that I was doing. And what I was doing is I was creating situations where I don't have to be stuck to a geographical location. And that's another reason why I went to the US, because I'm like, I don't want this line to dictate where I'm going to get, you know, where am I going to invest? I want to have this playground, right? And so for me now, we're looking very closely at Alberta and Saskatchewan. Obviously, you know, things have been saturated out east. Ontario, I still have a lot of things that I'm doing in Ontario, but the strategy changes. So in Ontario, I'm buying a lot of new build apartment buildings. We're building apartment buildings. We're doing a lot of land development, and then we shift to, you know, existing really good quality apartment buildings that we're looking at in Alberta and Saskatchewan. In the US, well, US is very different all across every state, different laws. So you got to be careful. We're looking at Tennessee. Tennessee is a state that we've identified that has that opportunity to be able to find something that is you know, underperforming, add value, and go and refi it and pull a lot of our money out. And so those are the strategies that we have. We've just recently.
To summarize, I think you're focusing on no rent control provinces or states. In US, more like Republican, far from the politics, Republican states. Here in Canada, more conservative states, Saskatchewan, Edmonton, Alberta, where you can find good cap rate, good cash flow, a lot of opportunities, and avoiding the crazy appreciation and as I said, you're trying to avoid this bubble to burst and to have a bulletproof business, correct?
Yes. So we definitely protect ourselves with the numbers, right? So when we analyze a deal, we want to make sure that we have all the provisions in place in case something happens, right? So when we you know, March of 2020 was a memorable moment for a lot of people across the world,
right?
Especially if you were a real estate investor. And
because of the rent and COVID and
we were like, oh, we don't even know if people are going to pay the rent.
Mr. John Tory and I think saying do not pay the rent.
Yeah, well, you know, at the end of the day, what people people were lost, right?
Yes.
And as an investor, you weren't sure what was going to happen. But we've always, and I've never gotten into anything shiny per se, right? Where it's like I'm looking at luxury apartments, or I don't do much Airbnb. So during those times, our average rents across Canada were around $1,000. And so the government, and the government sees this. They gave the CERB program was enough money for someone to pay, it's like $2,400 a month. Pay your shelter, pay your food, and hunker down. And so if they're getting $2,400 a month and the rent is $2,400 a month, they're not going to be able to pay. They're not paying that rent, right?
100%.
And so for us, and obviously you got to be very proactive, but for us, we were 98% collected on April 1st of 2020.
Which is the starting of the disaster already.
Yes. And so we knew that the products that we go after is blue collar, affordable rents. We don't go to this, we're not like, we don't want rundown places, like really good affordable rents, but we don't go too on the high end. We don't go on the low end. We kind of stay in the middle. And so that has been our focus. And so in terms of future pandemics and anything that could come our way in the future, I think we're okay in that space. And then ultimately, the numbers, the numbers will protect the investments. Yes. Most people don't, they're like, okay, well, if I'm breaking even, it's going to be okay. No, you don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's ahead of us. And so you need to take proper decisions, analyze the property, and think about the worst case scenario. And if you're okay with the worst case scenario, it's probably a good investment.
Going back to, I think this is the point of moving out of Ontario, because the average rent here is crazy in Ontario. That's why, as you said, you have an actual plan. Even during any disaster or pandemic, you're protected. But going back to actually analyzing your deals, during the underwriting, what is always your magic number for preferred return? I know that you're doing this as I'm not sure this it's different from deal to deal, I think, between choosing on hard money or GPLP. But what will be your magic number to say, okay, this one is going to be good investment for me and my passive investors in total?
Yeah, every market is going to have a magic number, right? For example, and also how people come to that magic number, it's also a formula, right? Correct. So for us, we need to hit our number with all of our provisions. So we have a specific vacancy number that we follow, a specific repairs and maintenance, capital expenditure. We need to have our property management in place. Like, we still need to have all of those numbers, because when you see these pro formas, you don't see those numbers. And so we need to have all those. And at the same time, we need to have a certain cash on cash that we need to meet.
Right.
And so the cash on cash, for example, Ontario, between 3.5 to 5 to 3.5 and up, anything 3.5 and up, I think we're in the ballpark, right? If we're talking about Alberta or Saskatchewan, it has to be over 5. Yeah, because you're not going to go into those markets, and with the proper vacancies, the proper provisions that we put into our formulas. And so we have to be over 5 in those markets.
I think the cap is still on Alberta, still within 5.5 to 6%. The cap is in Alberta and Saskatchewan is still 6%. Where in Ontario, especially in Toronto, 2.5, and
Yeah,
maybe in
so
Hamilton,
that's the
3.5.
that's the cap rate,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
But I was talking about the cash on cash
Cash
return.
on cash, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the cash on cash, we need to achieve a 5%.
5. Yeah.
5 in those markets above, and then we can be a little lenient in Ontario with, between 3.5 and that. Anything else, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you do have to sharpen the pencil and really think about where the opportunities are going to come from. This is why I buy new build in Ontario, because there's no rent control, right?
Correct.
And so that
After I think 2019.
Yeah.
After 2019, anything pre-construction is going to be no rent control. So
yeah. So the good thing about that, why is that so important? Because we're living through inflationary times. And so
6-7% or more.
I think it's more than that. I think we're more at 15.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the regular is 3-4%. Now is on the last 6-7 months. Yeah, 15-20%.
Yeah, and they're always declaring it, and it's like you're late to the party, where But what I was saying is that you have to think about inflation, and if you have rent control, and inflation is going up 16% per year, you're not going to be able to keep up with those rents.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I love new build. I know you pay a premium, like you're paying through the nose, but you have the flexibility as market rents continue to go up. You have the flexibility to continue to go up with that market rent.
100%. I think you started a question. I was saving to the last part, but we can start with it, which is the land development, which is totally different animal here when you're talking about pre-development, zoning, permits, community opinions. You have to approve your project, environmental. So where is all of this started? Like, why you choose? Because you're not dealing only with existing building. You have to develop relationship with developers and so on. It's not an easy pick like regular multifamily when you're dealing with a smaller animal with small bird. So I think it's an interesting story. I don't see many people talk about how he started. I know that the return is great, but the jump to this market and this mentality is, I think it's different than the regular. In your level is your comfort zone. Comfort zone is regular multifamily, correct?
Yeah.
So it's different market, I think. So how you started all of this?
So it's very simple. The numbers in the old stuff started to creep up. So the price per door, when I got into multifamilies here in Ontario, price per door in the secondary and tertiary markets that I was looking at was like 60 a door. You know what I mean? That's what we were buying. Yeah, in Ontario, right? So between 60 to 80 a door. Like that was the benchmark.
Yeah.
And then it creeped up to over 100, and okay, that's fine. And then it went like over 150. Well, then when the price per door for a product that's built in 1960, 1970 started to creep up over 150, then you add the other element of the insurance. All the insurance is going up, everything's going up.
Correct.
When I started to do these numbers, it didn't make sense for us and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish, in terms of what we want to provide for our investors, what we want to do. And so I started to analyze the numbers, and I saw like, whoa, like let's say a new build in a secondary or tertiary market, you're looking at anywhere between $230,000 to maybe over $300,000 a door. There's old product right now built in the 1960s that's going for like $180,000 to $200,000 a door. So
in Ontario, maybe more.
Yeah.
In Ontario, maybe more.
Yeah. And so like, to me, it was just normal. It's like, okay, I'd rather pay the premium because it's very, like if I took something at $200,000 a door, built in 1960, and I invested another, let's say another $100,000 a door for cash for keys and renovate the unit and bring up all the common areas.
Correct.
You're still, you might as well just buy new. And so that's kind of where the mindset came. This was never part of my, it was never part of our MO that we would go after all these new builds and start developing. It just happened because the market pushed us there. And in Ontario, there's a lack of inventory.
100%.
But Ontario is not going anywhere. It's the most populated province in Canada. If you see this line, if you see the population line, half of the population of Ontario is below Toronto in
100%.
southern Ontario.
GTA is like 9 million, I think, in total.
Yeah, but I mean, even go all southern Ontario, you have half the population of Canada.
100%.
And so the reason that is because the most southern part of Ontario is more south than the most northern part of California. And if you look on the map, the southern point of Ontario actually is more south than the most northern part of California.
Yeah.
And so it comes back to the weather.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this, I'm always under this belief that this Ontario will always be a hub. The problem is there's no inventory. This is why the prices are going up. And so in Ontario, you got to create your inventory, and and it doesn't, you don't have to start there because it can be complicated. You got to go to the city or whatever. Start small. We have like in what I do, I've brought on real solid land development experts, right, to help our students navigate through these waters, because it's not easy, but it can be done. Anybody can do it. So for me, that was a bit of a complicated, but I needed to expand, because if you get pigeonholed, first of all, the first thing you can do is just be stuck to your geographical location. But then if you get pigeonholed to one certain thing, I can only do BRRRRs, I can only do wholesale, I can only do flips, I can only do, you cannot get stuck on one specific strategy. You have to have an open mind and be able to shift. Every year in the NHL, they change the rules. And every year, professional NHL players show up and play the game within the new rules. And so as real estate investors, professional real estate investors, we just simply show up and play within the new environments, the new rules. Interest rates are up. Okay, now we have to adjust our numbers. Interest rates are down. Okay, now we adjust our numbers. There's no inventory. Okay, we have to create it. There's a lot of inventory. Okay, now we can negotiate. Like, we just need to adjust. You got to be willing to adjust and pivot when you have to.
100%. But I think what you're doing is the actual growth for your business, because you start with small multifamily, then multifamily, and then big deals on multifamily, and then coaching and raising money, and then land development. I think, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, you like land development because it's making more return on investment, whatever, even in Ontario or outside. I think this is the winning horse.
Well, for me, in the deals that I'm doing, it's just exciting to have new. Like, there is a honeymoon effect, right? When you have a brand new property, it's like it smells new. If you build, like I'm sure the only way I can describe it to people is like when you buy a new home, right? You go and buy a new home, and it's like everything is new. No one's ever used it before. That's the feeling I get with brand new apartment buildings. It's like, the maintenance is low. Everything's under warranty. There's a romantic there's something romantic about that has attracted me, being in the game for so long, 23 years, where, I was buying things with, like, we had drug addicts and going in there fighting with, with all kinds of crazy people and trying to fix properties. Like, we paid our dues, right? And so more than just the profit, Adam, is the fact that when I'm building, I can build a project. I can be part of a build, or I can buy something new. To me, it's like I have a feeling that, okay, this is like, I made it here, right? Like, it's like, okay, this is what I thought I would do in like 40 years, like my wildest dreams, right? Like, one day I'm going to build, right?
Yeah.
And so in the same way, I look at in the city and I see the cranes.
100%.
The cranes go up, right? And they're building like, an 800 unit apartment building. I say to myself, one day I'm going to do that, right? And that's the same way I used to look at land development, right? I would say people put the applications, and I would say, wow, like, look what they're building. I always stop and I see what they're building, how they're building it, and I would say, one day I'm going to do that, right? And so now, like, we have something, out here, we're building a 60 unit apartment building, brand new, and I from an investor perspective, to me, I remember looking at brand new buildings, maybe 5 years ago, and I said, wow, one day I'm gonna do that, and here we are.
How is your coaching program help your business? I know that you're helping a lot of students across Canada. So how does this help your business and help also the people? And I think it's good for your networking, but how you think it's really help you in your business model?
Well, to be honest with you, it's a bit of a distraction.
100%.
So it does not help. I have to sacrifice my business,
Correct,
to help people, because that brings me fulfillment. The real estate is fun, and it creates the freedom so I can do these things, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a decision that I had to make, right? I had to make that decision for lifestyle, for what I wanted, how I wanted to live my life, how I wanted to feel about, when I'm no longer here. What do I want to be remembered for? I don't want to be remembered for the doors. I want to be remembered for all the people that have helped. And so the program doesn't really, it's symbiotic, because it's real estate. I help people achieve freedom through real estate, but it doesn't help my business in from that perspective, because if I just did real estate like all the time, I mean, I would have like 10 times the results.
100%, because you're not losing time, but you have to dedicate some time for your students and mastermind classes and so on. So I think going back to this point is, who is your influential mentor?
But also it's
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it's also a fulfillment thing for
100%,
me, right? Because like I don't see it any other way, right? Like,
you're a people type.
Yeah, I need to help people. I need to support people. I need to, you know what I mean? Like it's a mission, right? It's a mission, and the real estate makes that possible for me.
Correct.
And that's why I love it so much, right? And I made that decision when I was 30 years old, that I was going to dedicate, my life to helping people. And so I know that I have to build the real estate and to be able to support more people. But it is a sacrifice that I had to make in my life, where I could say, well, I can pursue way more real estate, but also at the end of it, what do you want to be remembered for?
100%.
So it's a balance.
Yeah. So again, back to my question, who was your influential mentor when you started? I'm not gonna say now, but eventually everyone has mentor.
Yeah.
Because you're going from level to level.
Yeah, so I had a few. So when I was in business for the very first time, um, I had moved to Miami, and I was living there, and I met someone really influential, someone that was really, really, really wealthy. And he's actually the person that suggested Think and Grow Rich and What Rich Dad Poor Dad, and gave me those books. And I absorbed so much from that person. And then later, when I started in real estate, when I was 24, I looked we didn't have social media. So I found in the classified sections, I saw that there was someone that was doing a lot of transactions in real estate. I'm like, I want to be like that guy. And so I called him up, and I said, would you help me? He said, absolutely not. And then I said, I'll pay you. And he's like, you can't afford it. I said, try me. So he gave me a number to scare me, but I said, okay, I'll do it. And
How much was it?
what's that? Well,
How much
it was like 10,000 a month. And so,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
But it was it was a number that it was like, okay, if I tell this kid, I was 24, if I tell this kid this number, it would just scare him away,
Yeah,
scare him off.
yeah.
But I said, okay. And that year I bought 10 properties, my first year,
Oh,
and I think as a result of that mentorship, I've become a multimillionaire as a result. So I've never been afraid to have mentors that I pay or don't pay. It really doesn't matter. I just need access to people that are doing things at a level that I have no access to. And so to this day, I reach out to people that are better than me, and I reach out to mentors. There's programs that I want to participate in, because I'm always going to be a student. I need to always be a student.
the people underestimate always the value of mentorship. They think, okay, if I read a book or two, I can do it by myself. But this is not the case, I think. You're always, as you mentioned, you're 40, you're not the biggest one of the room. You always have to learn because you have bigger people than you, and you have to learn. So you're a coach, but as you said, you're still trying to your best because you're looking for a bigger deals and so on. So I like this mentality, to be
You
honest.
wouldn't want your doctor to stop learning, right? You wouldn't go to a doctor that said, well, yeah, I learned some things back in 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He's not up to date with the latest and greatest of the new medicines, and you know what I mean? Like you would never trust a doctor that doesn't continue their education.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Really great answer. My next question is, I think, is about lending side and your business model. If you really giving an advice for people on starting, what you gonna give away? Equity or a more interest rate if you're going with hard money? Because again, for newbies, always they think, okay, I'm gonna go to conventional bank, lender A, I'm gonna close. But this is not the actual case. Your only way to start or to build an actual big portfolio is hard money. But the question is here, after this years, what you prefer, to give equity to passive investors, or take more control and pay a little bit more money on as hard money side?
The answer is I do both, right? And it really depends on the deal and where the portfolio is at that moment. I'm going to give you both. I'm going to give you the flip side of both. You could borrow all the money to do the deal.
Correct.
Or you can borrow all the money to do the deal, but that's not a scalable business, because if and I'm going to speak specifically on multifamily.
Yeah.
So let's say you have five buildings, you borrowed all the money to buy all 5 buildings, you're 100% financed on all 5 buildings. You're borrowing all the money, you own 100% of the deal.
So LTV is 100%.
Yeah. So guess what? You have 2 boilers go in two of your properties. Each boiler for an apartment building, let's say an apartment building of 40 units, each boiler is going to be probably around $30,000. So two of them go, you now got to put out of your pocket $60,000 that you were not expecting, right?
100%. Yeah.
Now, you can't go to your private lenders and say, hey guys, I had to pay this boiler. Everybody's going to have to I won't be able to pay this month. No, you made a deal. They're going to come after you if you don't pay, you don't pay that loan, right?
100%.
Versus equity, where you have 5 deals, you bought it all with equity partners, 2 boilers go out, you go back to your partner and say, hey guys, this was unforeseen. We didn't expect this to happen. So for the next, year, this is going to suck up our cash flow. But next year, we're going to be in a better place because this new boiler now is more efficient, and the gas bill will be reduced by half. And so it's actually a blessing that we got this, because next year we'll see more cash flow. Guess what? Your equity partners are going to be more flexible with you because they have the equity, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
That model is sustainable and is scalable. And so I don't want you to get pigeonholed to that model only, because there may be opportunities where, I can take this down on my own, right? And you may want to do that. But if it's all of your business look like 100% financed and you don't have the means or the funds to be able to fix something if something goes wrong, then you're going to be in a situation where you're going to get caught with your pants down. And, Warren Buffett says it best: when the tide goes out, you find out who's naked, right? And so that's what happens. Something, interest rate, pandemic or whatever, something happens where, you can't adjust, you can't pivot, your people are not going to be understanding, you're toast.
100%. I think it's can be a good strategy for starters, because eventually your problem on raising capital is trust.
Yeah.
People want to see results.
Yeah.
Usually when you go, you show your records. I did 20 deals. Here, see what I did. So I think it's an option, but not an actual strategy. As I said, you cannot build a model on only hard money, because there's not going to be cash flow. And as you said, you're going to be exposed to any issues during the project. I think your business model, you said you're relying on long distance. Tell us how you manage to build all of these relationships between US, Alberta, because you want a constant deal flow. So I like what you do, to be honest. I see your events, meetups, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, and New Brunswick, Ontario. You're always everywhere. I like this. I think this is because this is a main goal on your business, networking, because you want to get more people. At least this is my understanding of your approach.
Yeah, well, the one thing about the events is that that's part of the financial freedom initiative, right? And so we want to make sure we can connect. I don't want to be this mentor that you see just over a camera or on Zoom or whatever. So I made it a point. The second they allowed us to go out there, I wanted to go and actually meet face to face with a lot of my students, and just be there and be in person. I mean, I love Zoom, but there's nothing beats being in a room with people and going back to that. So I was traveling since early March, and I did events all across North America. I met with students, and it was just incredible. And so that's a big part of the reason why I was traveling. Now the management. Oh, and also it's also, if I'm traveling, it's good that I have properties in those areas, so then I can go have a look. My model is very simple, and I'm going to give the secret sauce here. Okay, I'll give you the secret sauce only because it's you, Adam. Okay, I'll give you the secret.
Thanks
sauce.
a lot.
So 16 units and up is the model. 16 units and up actually there's enough cash flow to hire us an on-site super. And the on-site super is the key. We manage the on-site super. We'll go to that area. We'll develop relationships with all the vendors in the area, and then we basically just delegate to that on-site super.
Yeah. I think for me, you need full-time personnel. Anything above 45. So do you have your super like full-time or part? Okay.
So we can manage because our staff is full-time.
Yeah. Okay.
And we can manage the on-site super on-site.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And 16 units and above, we can get it. It's like, in the numbers, it works.
So you slip in the numbers, part of your underwriting.
Yeah. And by the way, we're still managing. We're still managing. The super is just there, like it's like a warm body on site.
Correct.
But that's our strategy. Anything below 16, you have to get a property manager, and like you have to hire an on-site property management company, and it never works for us. There's too many fees. They're gonna just, so we rather take on the management. We manage in-house. I
didn't know this. So you're not dealing with any property managers?
No. Well, we have some, but anything over under 16, we have no choice, But I think we have one property left that's under 16. It's a 12 unit, but that we have to get a property manager. But we manage the supers.
This is really different approach. Like I really like this, but this is another hustle for you besides your coaching, and that's really great. Yeah. So you managed to develop this relationship on different markets, and you have for all of your buildings your own management, which is, I think it's a creative way to handle and control things, because property manager, you're going to pay on this level. I think if you're going to hire a property manager, is going to be between 8 to 10% of the gross rental, plus how you going to
plus.
Yeah. Plus contract any contract work and maintenance and repairs. I think you can have different things. It's not only property manager, contract admin. You're gonna need any repair and maintenance, so it's gonna cost you a lot.
Yeah. So what we do is we build relationships with the people around.
Yeah.
And then the contact will be the super, but we manage those relationships. We manage the pays, we pay, so we can manage everything from our office. And all we just need is to communicate with the supers. So the formula that we have is very simple. If you have supers on site, one property manager, so one person can handle about 300 doors.
So you bringing on house also a property management?
We have
property management.
We like one human being can handle 300 doors. So we have a property manager here in our office. That person oversees the
portfolio.
Yeah, they oversee the supers.
I think this is a good approach to make the number work on your part. It's gonna save you a lot of money on the underwriting.
Yeah,
but is it challengeable with the lenders to show that you don't have a property man, or because you have experience on house already? Oh, okay, I got it. So
when it comes to lenders, we're considered to be professional landlords.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so they like most of the financing we get is with CMHC.
Yeah.
And for them, they already know who we are, and they know what we're doing. And the property does have management. It's remote.
Yeah.
And everything, you can do so much from remote. Like look, even if you have like a plumbing issue, right? Who fixes that?
The actual professional, the plumber.
Exactly. So you got to call the plumber anyways, right?
Yeah. 100%.
So you don't need the property manager to charge you whatever he's going to charge you to call the plumber, you can just call the plumber directly. You just control the output, right?
It's fit for your model because you've
Yeah.
been on the business, but for newbies on a new market especially, this is scary for them. Saying that I have to deal with building a network on this market where I don't know anyone. But I think this is one really great lesson, is the benefit of networking. How is like your business on real estate relies on know more people, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to network. Like I go to if I'm going to invest in a market that I don't know, I'll go there. I'll meet the plumbers. I'll meet the electricians. I'll create my team on site.
Yeah.
So then they know they see if they know they can put a face to when I phone them. I give them the card. I show them what we're doing. I show them how we do everything, and then I don't really have to come back there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing this in US, I think, because this is a new market for you.
Yep.
I think it's impressive what you did. So property management, land development, coaching, multifamily, 20 years in experience. It's a lot of the students across Canada, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good progress for you, Alfonso. I'm happy for you. Just one final question is, what is lately the book grabbed your attention? It's real estate or maybe
so a lot of the content that I read has nothing to do with real estate.
Yeah.
Right now, our vision is to get to 7,500 doors as a company in the next 5 years. And it doesn't matter what the goal is for you or your listeners. I know this to be true. The gap between where you are and where you want to go is people. It's always people. Systems, people, and at the end of the day, you have to hire good people. You have to have good people. So a lot of the content that I read and I spend my time reading is on leadership. If you want to, and it sounds crazy, but if you want to expand your portfolio, you need to become a really good leader, right? And I like to call myself a leader of leaders, right? So I don't want to lead employees that I have to manage. I want to lead other people that are leaders in their own right. So I can give someone a task, and I don't have to worry if it's going to be done or not, because they're going to take ownership. They're going to be leaders in their own right and be able to deliver that. So a lot of the focus has shifted because I identified, once you set a goal, you need to start making decisions that are in alignment with that goal. And so everything that I've been reading on is leadership. And there's, John Maxwell is one of the best. And, I think is the 28 irrefutable laws of leadership, I would say, was the latest one. I'm looking at one right now. I read this 3 times.
Wow.
21 irrefutable laws of leadership.
Yeah.
Look how the book is
It's torn.
When people show me that the books are too nice, when I see people's books and they're too nice, we know you never cracked it open. Come on.
Yeah.
And so we want you to, people talk about reading. I like to read things over. I'm not trying to read as many books as possible. I want to read a book and really understand it and then apply what I've learned. And so you're better off reading one book 5 times and really understanding it than trying to read, 20 books, and then you forgot what you even read,
What I do is usually I read the chapter by chapter and I apply it. I don't wait until the end. So I apply chapter by chapter. But as you mentioned, leadership here is you don't want to the whole business fall apart because someone is not acting. I like this one too, to be honest. The final thing, the final thing, how the people can reach you or follow your success.
This is what I always tell people. Go to my YouTube channel. It's Alfonso Cuadra. You find it, you subscribe, hit the bell to get notified the next time we're doing a video. And if anything I say on that channel resonates with you, reach out.
Great. Thanks a lot for your time today. And we're happy to have you today. And we hope to bring you here again.
Hey, Adam, it's been so fun.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.